Hello everyone, welcome to this Siemens S120 servo drive motion control series video. In this video, I will discuss the number one topic, how can we use the Siemens conventional and classic software starter, the software to configure and do the commissioning for the SINAMICS S120, this high-end servo drive system. As we know, the starter software, this is one typical servo drive software to configure and do the commissioning for all Siemens SINAMICS series servo and VFD drive system. And this software is used for free, so you can download from Siemens support website and use this software to configure many kinds of Siemens servo drive and VFD system. And to download the SINAMICS starter, the software, you can browse this ID 26233208. And you can download the latest software for the starter. And its full name is SINAMICS Starter Software. The current version, that is the version 5.4 SP2. And this software is compatible with Windows 10. So you can download. And this software is very convenient and very professional tool to do the configuration and commissioning for all Siemens mainstream servo drive system and VFD system. And regarding the hardware, what I'm using, that's a SINAMICS S120, the typical Siemens demo site. Luckily, recently I got one demo site. So from this demo site, it has two servo motor. The servo controller, that's the SINAMICS CU320. This is this CU. And this is the infeed module. And this is the motor module. And this motor module can serve two servo motors, one blue, one red. And the demo site, what I'm using is slightly old than this latest one. But the typical hardware style is similar like this. So this enables me to show how can we use the real hardware to use the software to do this commissioning. Alright, let's shift to the software side and let me show how can we do the commissioning from the scratch. Alright, let's double click this starter. And let's use this starter software to set up the project. And current version, that is 5.4, the latest version. And then let's click this web page icon to set up a new project. Okay, click this web page. I'm gonna set up one project named the Starter S120 Demo. Since I'm connecting the front port from the control unit, S120 CU control unit, this port basically used for the commissioning and configuration. By default, this port IP address is 169.254.11.22, and its subnet is 255.255.0.0. Basically, the IP address of this port won't be changed because port is only used for the configuration and commissioning. It will be not used for the communication between the PLC and the S120. And according to this IP address, we need to set the IP address of our laptop as the same subnet of this IP address. Okay, I'm go to my Ethernet and double check the current IP setting from my laptop. Okay, I'm setting 11.251 and subnet 255.255.0.0. Okay, so the same subnet. And now we can connect the cable and click this access node. As we can see now, this software searched this controller, this CU. Its IP address is 11.22. And from here, we can also see the current version from this CU. Firmware version of this CU come from the CF card, the firmware inside. In case if you have any trouble on this connection, probably first things you need to select this access point, double check if you are selecting the i7 online. And also make sure this i7 online point to the physical card from your laptop if this selection is correct. Okay. If this selection is not correct, we need to go to the PGPC. This is typical conventional style of Siemens software named set PGPC. Basically tell the Siemens software which communication port you are selecting and which port you are using. So in this case, we can see from here, I'm using i7 online, this interface, logic interface, and hardware, I'm using my network card, i7 online is selecting to this port. So this network, that is TCP/IP auto. Okay, this is the typical selection. When we do the commissioning, basically we are connecting point to point just to do the commissioning one by one. Okay, after we select this hardware and then we click this accept. And then the starter software will try to connect this hardware. The drive has been transferred to the project, and now this project can connect this hardware. Okay, we can click this online. And the first time when we click this online, the software will tell us if our offline configuration and online configuration, if they match together. Definitely, this is one hardware from others, so it has been configured something inside. So from this button, download to target, if you configure something already, you can click this button directly override this online configuration. Download the entire offline project to the online CU. Another way that I used to do before I do something for this hardware, I will do the load project to PG to back up the online configuration, and then you can do something else. Load to PG means we will upload from the CU to the offline project. Basically, we could back up the online configuration from the online CU to our offline project and save as to other place, and then we're starting from the scratch, reset factory mode and start over again, right? So we back up the project. Or if you do some commissioning, the first time you go to on-site, once you connect the CU, the first things you better to do is upload to PG to back up the current configuration. Okay? And then you can save as this project, do a backup, and we can set up a new project. Or another way, you can click this load project to PG. This is the same idea. Okay? And then you can click this offline and save your project. Okay? And you can create a new project and start over again. And after you create a new project, next things I highly recommend is this button, Restore Factory Settings. So as we know, some cases maybe this CU was tested in the factory. It might have setting inside. So highly recommend you click this Reset to Factory. Click and reset device configuration. We can still save the IP address, boundary, some communication setting. Don't worry, they will now be reset. Okay, after we reset, we basically reset the ROM also, so we can click yes with this box checked. Okay, we restore factory settings. Alright, in next step, after we click this restore factory setting, restore the factory setting will also allow the system can do the automatic configuration. So the next step, I will click the automatic configuration, allows the CU automatically detect all the hardware it can detect. So we can do the automatic configuration. And while we are online, we can click this automatic configuration. And let's hit this start. And we can see the system automatically detect we have a 2 server drive in the system. And we can click this identification with the LED. And we can identify the motor module. We'll try to configure. Okay, let's click this create. And after this, we can see the drive area. The system can identify the drive area. It should identify 2 servo motors. Okay, we can see it's uploading the drive unit. And the system notice us the servo 3, we need to manually configure something. We briefly review this diagram of this S120 servo drive system. We can see this is the CU, and this is the in-feed module, and this is the motor module. And this motor module serves 2 servo motors here. The difference between these 2 motors, the encoder from this right motor, it directly go to the motor module, while this drive click. This drive click, this is one specialty protocol from Siemens. It's physically like the Ethernet cable and the Ethernet port. However, this is one specially protocol, drive click protocol from Siemens, that's specially used for the communication between the servo drive modules between each other within the Siemens servo drive system. On the contrary, the blue motor is not directly communicate with the servo drive. It go to the SMC module first and then go to the servo drive. That's because this blue servo motor, it doesn't have drive click communication. There is one interface module named SMC20, and SMC20 will connect to the motor module. That's why the CU can use the drive click identify the encoder from this right motor, but the encoder from this blue motor we have to manually configure. So it has one interface module served for this blue servo motor. That's why we need to configure this blue motor. Therefore, we need to go offline first. We will manually configure the Servo 3. We can see under the CU, it identifies the TB30. Also, it identifies the Servo 2 and the Servo 3. And as noticed, the Servo 3, we need to manually configure something. Okay, we can double click this Servo 3. Currently, we are stay offline, and then we can click this config DDS. This is the one wizard. We can follow this wizard and we can configure the power module, motor module, and the encoder. For this step, we do not need to adjust anything, so we can click next. The next step, that's the power unit. The power unit here means the module that connect to the servo motor. So in this case, I'm using one module that serves for the two servo motors. That is the 6SL3120 to TE13. Okay, you can see this is the DC to AC. So this is the motor module, 1.6 kilowatt, and it served double motor. Okay, it mentions us the operation signal must be wired. Okay. And we can write down RA63.0 must be wired. So we need to give an enable signal. The next step shown in this picture, this is the drive in operation. Basically, this is one essential enable signal for the drive power. And this step is used to configure the in-feed or ready signal. And this will be one of the conditions to enable the drive power. For testing purpose, we can set always true here. Assume that in-feed always ready. Or we can involve the actual in-feed ready signal. And in this demo, it's using the TB30, one of the signal from the TB30. That signal channel comes from R4022.0, that channel. So once the in-feed ready, and we can use this signal, and will be the one of the condition to enable the drive. So that makes sure if the in-feed module has something wrong, we can now enable the drive. The next step, this is the connection number. According to this drawing, this is the connection 2. And since the Servo 3 that comes from the second connection, so that is the X2 connection. And then let's go to configure the motor. Okay, and in this case, I'm connecting the synchronized motor. So that's the 1FK7. And then let's pick the servo motor that I used in this demo site. Okay, in this case, I'm using this AK7, this servo motor, 1FK7. It's 0.6 newmeter, 1.4 amperes. And then let's select the temperature sensor type. Okay, in this case, I don't have the sensor to detect temperature, so I select no. Okay, and then the brake. And in this case, I'm now using the any brake. If you are using any brake, you can select the first one, use a motor holding brake, and then you can select the detail type. And this step is very important. We will select the encoder. For the third end encoder, you can click the enter data. You can manually type in the encoder data, but basically we will select the standard encoder from the list. Click this start from the list, and from here we can pick the encoder. And in this case, I'm using the 1FK7 sine cosine incremental encoder. Okay. The code number, that's 2001. And from here, we can pick the Profit Drive telegram. Temporarily, we can select the 99. That's the free telegram. Okay, this is summary configuration. And from here, we can click this copy text. Then we can paste to somewhere. All right, we complete this wizard. Finish the configuration for servo drive, motor module, servo motor, and encoder, also the brake. Okay. Alright, till now, we basically finished the hardware configuration. The Servo 2, we used the automatic configuration, so the system automatically learns everything. And for the Servo 3, as noticed from the system, so we manually configure everything. And after we finish the offline hardware configuration, we can click the save, and then we can click online. And we can download this offline hardware configuration to online CU. So we can verify if this offline hardware configuration that match or not with your online hardware. Okay, we add online. Let's click this download. And I will check this copy RAM to ROM. Basically do an initial setting. We copy all the setting from the RAM to ROM. We still have some parameters need to set, but so far I will download all the hardware configuration. Make sure the basic hardware can work. Okay, we finished this download, and we can see the left side, it shows green. That means basically my offline hardware configuration that match online real hardware. Alright, after this download, we will leave this software with online status. And after this, we can go to the expert list, and we can configure some parameter, the important parameter, especially for this demo side. For example, this demo side, the main power is 220 AC power. So we need to specially configure some power supply range and some other important settings. So we need to configure something specially fit for this demo side. Okay, so let's start from the Servo 2. Go to the expert list. So from here, we can browse or we can set all the important parameters at here. For example, if you type in 864, so you can browse this P864. Let's pick this. So it's in-feed operation. Let's use this TB30 R4022.0. If you recall, when we did configuration for the Servo 3, we did the same thing. We configured the in-feed operation connect to TB30 R4022.0. That allows the in-feed operation ready signal as the one of the condition to enable our drive power. So if the in-feed has something wrong, this enable signal will be off. So the drive will not be powered. This basically gives some interlock. This setting associated with some hardware connection behind in this demo set. But for testing purpose, you can set always true, set 1 for this P864. Just to give always on as one of the condition to enable the power, the motor power module. And then let's go to set P210. This is the DC voltage for the drive unit. So by default, this value is 600 DC voltage setting. But I'm using one transformer supplying 230 AC power. This is much lower than 380 three-phases AC power. So that's why the DC voltage won't be that high. So here I will set 345. And then let's go to P1244. You can type in 1244. And from here, we can set the DC bus, this DC bus voltage, the upper and the lower threshold, because our input voltage that lower than the regular voltage, that's 600. So we need to also adjust this DC bus, DC link voltage. And then let's go to the P10. This is a drive commissioning parameter filter. Let's double check if that's set 0. 0 means ready. And this is Servo 2. And we will do the same thing for the Servo 3. All the settings, they are the same. I won't show this process again. Just to keep in mind, when you set the Servo 2 or Servo 3, so you need to make sure you are selecting the right sheet at here. Some cases, maybe you switch to the wrong sheet and set the wrong motor, the wrong target. So keep in mind, when you set the motor per motor, you better set one by one. Otherwise, maybe some cases you accidentally select another one and set the wrong parameter for that motor. We will set the same parameters for the Servo 3 for the blue motor. Basically, the P210 we will set to 345 for this demo. And then we set a P1244 and 1248 for the DC bus, the threshold, the upper and the lower threshold. Okay? So this is the Servo 2 and the Servo 3. And now keep in mind one thing. All the settings so far were online. So all the parameter we write the value or we set some value that directly modified in the CU, the online module. So before we download to the CU again, make sure you did the upload because we need to upload all the current setting from the CU to our offline project. So make sure you upload at first. Otherwise, if you do directly download, you will wipe out all the online setting you just did. So make sure we do the load project to PG at first. We upload all the settings from the CU. Okay, click yes. We are uploading all the parameter from the CU to our offline project. Okay, after we did the upload, so we can see the icon right here, it shows this style. It doesn't have a small page right here anymore, which means of offline and online, all the settings now they are matching. After we did the upload, and once we offline and online, they are matching. And next step, probably we can use the commissioning function from the starter software, and we can power on the motor, and we can jog or control the velocity of this motor. So we can verify the hardware of the motor, they are correct. And also we verify if all the configuration we just did, they are correct. This paves the way for the further motor tuning. And we can verify the motor direction, and we can also verify if the encoder value that makes sense. Okay, double click this control panel. And make sure we are selecting the Servo 2. And then we can click this assume control priority. And once we click this, we have a fully control priority for this motor. And let's power on the infeed module, drive on, so we can hear this noise. And now if I set a RPM parameter, let's say 10 RPM, so we can see the motor is running there. If I set 0, the motor will stop. Okay. RPM equal to the revolutions per minute. If I set 60, that basically means 1 second should 1 circle, 1 revolution. 30, 60. So as we can see now, it's running 1 revolution per second. Okay. Set 0. If I set minus 60, so we'll see it's going in the reverse. Set 0. Okay. Turn off. We turn off the power. And now give up. Okay. So now let's shift to the driver 3. So we can see while we are controlling this Servo 02, the motor is red. And now I'm going to shift to the motor 3, the drive 3. So same thing, enable. and let's power on. Give the power to the infeed module, and now same thing, let's set 60. So the blue motor 0 minus 60. Alright, as we can see, we successfully controlled this motor now. 0. Okay. And now we know for the Servo 02 what the color for that. So we can give up the priority and we can rename this. And now I can go offline to rename this drive. So now we shift to the offline mode, see? And now I can change this drive. This is Servo. We can change to, this is the red. Okay? And for this drive, 030. And this is blue. Okay, so we can save and compile. Okay, and after we change this name, we need to download this project so we can go online. So it will show us, so this project's not consistent because the online, the name is the old name. Now we are going to change this new name. So we will click this download to the target device. And make sure every time we download, you must think very clearly before you change something from your offline project. You need to click this load to PG. Make sure all the online has been uploaded. And then you change from the offline project and download to the online device again. Otherwise, if your offline project is not updated yet, and then you change the offline, then download to the drive, so it will override something and maybe some parameter while you are doing the online commissioning, they will be lost forever. Okay, so let's click this download. Make sure you upload first, do the offline change, and then click this download to device. Okay, we can select this copy RAM to ROM to save all the parameter to the ROM. So once we shut down the power, it still works. Okay, now let's go online again. Okay, we go online again. And now let's commissioning this drive to red access as first. So double click this motor panel. Okay, red motor. Assume control priority. Enable the power. And then let's set 60. So we will see set point 60, and this is the drive actual speed. And since we haven't optimized the drive yet, so it shows a little bit off with our set point. That still makes sense. Okay. Stop the access and give up this access, and then let's shift to the blue. Make sure the name, we name that correctly. Assume, enable, okay, and let's give minus 60. So it go in the reverse. Okay, and this is the Servo 3. So let's go to the Servo 3 parameter list, and this is the Servo 3. So R30 we can see it go to minus. Okay, and this is the voltage, smooth the voltage. Okay, set 0. Here go to 0. Okay, turn off the power. Alright, so this is the quick commissioning to quickly set up this drive system. Alright, in this video we used this starter software. We start from the scratch, set up a new project, and then we do the factory restore. And after that we click the automatic configuration. And we found the server 3 we need to manually config. Then we do the DDS manually config wizard. And after this, we upload all the configuration from the online CU to offline. And after this, we go online again, config the expert list. The expert list, basically, we need to config the DC link and the input power, just to verify if the actual input power and DC link that match with your setting. And after that, we still keep online and then go to the commissioning and go to the control panel, quickly verify the color, direction, or the encoder value. And we can try if the setting here that match with your actual speed smooths this value, R21 or R22 for each motor. For example, at here, I have the sheet 02 red and 03 blue. Okay, so using this starter software, we can quickly config and commissioning the servo drive, this S120. Until this step, the very basic configuration for the drive we complete. And after that, we can go to the PLC and we can set up TO, and then we can use the TO to run the motor. Alright, see you in next video. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumb up. If you like to watch more videos in my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for watching.